like to call the village board meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Trustee Gus.
Here.
Trustee Walker.
Aye.
Trustee Miller.
Here.
Trustee Addison.
Here.
Trustee City. Here. Trustee Wells.
Here.
Mayor Hucker. Clerk's
Here. All right, if you'd all please stand and join me for the pledge.
Always.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes.
Okay, tonight we have our consent agenda, which includes the following: approval of the minutes of the board meeting of October 11th and the committee of the whole meeting of October 16th, bills presented for payment, and the monthly finance report. Are there any matters that the board would wish to be discussed separately? Are there any matters on the consent agenda that the public would like to have discussed separately? There being none, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Gus.
Aye.
Trustee Hucker.
Aye.
Trustee Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Addison.
Aye.
Trustee City.
Aye.
Trustee Wells.
Okay, under trustee reports for the Building, Zoning, and TIF Committee, we have two items tonight, both pertaining to the same project. I'm going to invite Jeremiah to maybe present this to us. Did you want to come up, or do you want to do it from there? Either way is fine.
I was just going to do it from here,
That's
if possible. Tonight, before you, there are two different ordinances recommended by the Plan Commission with respect to the property at 38833 North Sheridan Road for a proposed daycare facility. Just to get started, if you have any questions tonight, the petitioner is here as well as his representative, so after I finish my discussion, if you have any questions for them or would like a presentation, they are here, but that's at your request only. The petitioner is proposing a daycare facility in an approximately, I believe it's 4,000 square feet building for 50 children is what they're proposing to have a daycare facility for. They're presently proposing 17 parking spaces on site, 8 for employees, and shuttle bus service, 9 for parents to pick up. They are proposing that approximately 50% of the kids, or roughly 25 kids at least, be shuttled to the site. They have 2 shuttle buses presently. They presently do operate a daycare facility. For the variance that they're requesting is to allow the play area that you see in the the eastern portion of the property to have varying setback degrees. Presently under the ordinance for permitted play area, it's not allowed to be in a setback area of a lot, and they are proposing variations to allow the area they're showing. That is in order to meet the requirements of the village's code of 150 square feet per child of outdoor play area. Presently, they're proposing at maximum 16 kids to be outside at one time, which would only require about 2,000 some odd square feet, but they're allowing the 3,000 square feet in case the maximum went up to about 20. That would provide the range. Like I said, the Plan Commission has recommended both of these plans for both the conditional use as well as the variation. The considerations that we have issued a memo on from my office were the Plan Commission did not make a specific recommendation on the condition on the maximum number of children allowed to be served by the facility. This has been a standard in many of the conditional uses that I've seen for such daycare facilities elsewhere that we've worked on. So in the ordinances that you have before you, the conditional use permit ordinance, there is a section for a maximum number of children that you may consider writing in there based on your considerations as a board. The petitioner has requested a maximum of 50, and that's what DCFS has initially recommended they have be able to serve. The other condition that's also included in that ordinance is a maximum number of kids that needs to be shuttled by the petitioner. This is a unique service that many daycare facilities do not necessarily provide. The shuttle service they would provide wouldn't compensate for some of the limitations on parking presently. So they have represented at least 25 kids would be shuttled. You can review how many kids you think should be shuttled for this size facility. And the other issue that we raised that's also in both the conditional use permit and variance ordinance is a restriction on the hours of operation for the outdoor play area. This does border some residential to the east. There is a buffer of an unimproved alley of 16 feet. But given that, I would suggest that you may consider possible restrictions on the play hours, possibly to 10 to 3 in the afternoon, or whatever you feel is appropriate. The facility is proposed to be limited to 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. operating hours, and that was recommended by the Plan Commission. Finally, the petitioner has suggested and has provided an alternate site plan for your consideration that shows some on-street parking on Michigan Boulevard at 90-degree angles, approximately 8 spaces. This was a suggestion in case you need to compensate for any lack of parking that you feel is necessary on site. But once again, this is something that you as a board would have to consider as being potentially allowed. It's unique in that I've not heard of this proposal to the village before. There are conditions of such things as the village may have to maintain it, who would construct it, things of that nature. Both our office and also the engineer's office did not recommend the 90-degree angle parking, and the reason why is you're blinded when you pull out in and on the site. The depth of the space is only 18 feet, as the engineer has pointed out, which some of the new oversized cars may hang out slightly. As an alternate, our office submitted a diagram showing 4 spaces at an angle, a sharp angle, a 30-degree angle. That could be accommodated potentially in the future. These spaces could be used either now as a negotiation, potentially, that in the future, if you guys wish to see a sidewalk along Sheridan Road, that you could ask for an easement potentially from the property owner and negotiate that in the future, if the easement is granted and a sidewalk is ever constructed by the village, that the 4 parallel spaces along Sheridan Road would be swapped out for on-street spaces. This is just a suggestion. In terms of the parking on site, our office feels that potentially if you do set a cap on the maximum number of children for this facility, as well as the number of kids that would be shuttled, that the on-site parking could be accommodating the necessary children. Potentially, but it depends on whether you set those limitations. Finally, all the other recommendations of the Plan Commission have been met with the revised site plan.
Thank you, Jeremiah. As he stated, we have 2 issues in front of us tonight. One ordinance regarding the conditional use for a child care facility. The second being a series of variations that would be required to accommodate the play yard behind and next to the building. We've heard from staff that there would be some recommendations to consider limiting the maximum number of children that would be permitted in the facility, as well as potential outdoor play hours. That's why you see the blanks in the ordinance that are yet to be filled in. I would like to ask the petitioner if they have any comment on restricting the play hours, or if there are any intended play hour restrictions that are in your business model as it stands.
No, there's not. Most of the time the kids are usually leaving, going home between 3 and 5 evenings. The playtime just starts over by 2 o'clock, 2 to 3 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. How about in the morning?
In the morning time, they're not out at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, so they're normally eating breakfast or something like that, so they're normally not out, so those hours really be a problem.
Would a window of 9 to 3 be an accommodation that you would think would fit your model? I'd like to ask the board if there's any additional comment on that particular, from 9 a.m. to 3 a.m. for outdoor play?
3 p.m.
3 p.m., sorry, a.m. It's a whole other operation going in. Thank you for clarifying that. All right, the other question was, the petitioner has requested not more than 50 children for the business to be cared for. The Plan Commission did not put a restriction on it at the time of the hearing, but I do think it would be wise, especially in light of the parking that we're discussing, to consider the model is built around that 50-child limit. If DCFS was to come along tomorrow and say, well, they can do 75, I think we create a parking problem. And I think that's what Jeremiah was alluding to there. So the petitioner's request sounds like the right number to put into the fill in the blank. Is there any other commentary there?
I'm having a hard time grasping how that would make a difference, seeing how most of these kids probably don't drive. But I think if they're comfortable with 50, I don't have a problem with saying 50.
I think the issue is the parents' parking.
The drop-off
pickup.
time.
Yeah.
Is all it would be.
Pickup.
But thanks for clarifying that as
But
well.
now, speaking of parking spaces, the ones that are in the hashed-out area, which would be to accommodate a sidewalk in the future, those are going to be parking spots in the meantime, but if we were to require them to vacate that for a sidewalk, then we would add the diagonal street parking?
Yeah, we could address it one of two ways. We could address it tonight and make that a condition that we would approve should the village ever seek that easement, that they wouldn't have to come back and petition for that parking on the right-of-way, or we could leave that matter to the day that it might occur and address it at that time. I kind of lean towards the latter because it's something that we may know more whatever time that comes up, and that board may have some feelings about the right-of-way parking permit.
So we're not proposing adding that street parking right now?
It's not in the ordinance as it's spelled out right now.
Okay.
That would be an alternate. Am I correct on that, Chairman?
Can I clarify? I'm the architect for this.
Yes.
Petitioner. Maybe an idea of, and I was also talking with the petitioner of, if DCFS would allow him up to 60, it would be great, but also the question becomes, he's going to start with 50, and then we're going to see how the parking works out. If parking's got plenty of parking, will the village board be amenable to let him get up to 60 if there's not parking concerns at that time?
I think the issue is, as Jeremiah is doing the calculations from the zoning ordinance side, that considering 50% of the kids being bused, we might word it another way and say no more than 25 not being bused if the DCFS was to permit the additional children inside. But do we then, Jeremiah, have a question of yard space? Are we okay there?
The yard space was based on the fact that they are only allowed to, by DCFS rules, have certain age ranges of kids outside at once. You know, toddlers can't go play with preschoolers. Preschoolers can't go play with graded schoolers by DCFS rules. That's the reason we were okay with the 3,000 square feet maximum with a potential for 20 kids outside at once, if, you know, not having even distribution at all times, depending on their customers. With respect to the increasing the maximum, I would say that would be something they could petition for a change of the conditional use in the future. That's my initial inclination, just to see how the parking works. That way you do have the ability to measure that. We can see how it works if there are any complaints.
Right.
At the Plan Commission level, the main complaints, I shouldn't say complaints, but issues raised by the public were issues with respect to circulation of cars, as well as access to the north site, and as well as sight lines of cars parked on site.
Right.
So knowing those were the public comments, and we were trying to accommodate those considerations at the Plan Commission level. So.
Thank you.
Is it possible to add language now to say, to put the 50-child limitation on there, but potentially expanded based on staff recommendation in the future? And don't give it a number, just so it doesn't have to go through another conditional use hearing with the costs and everything? Or?
I will defer to the legal counsel on how that wording might work and how functional it is.
I think you'd be best served, understanding that you're trying to be sensitive to costs, but I think you're best served by the nature of this use to put the 50 in, and if it needs to be changed, yes, there would have to be a petition to amend the conditional use, because I think, as the mayor mentioned, you'll know more about the circumstances out there, about compliance, about traffic, and it's within the village's authority to put the limit at 50 at this time, which is what is anticipated to be the maximum for the present time. If circumstances and needs change, we have a process that the petitioner can come forth and lay out the specifics of it, and it can get a proper evaluation in the context that exists at that time. So I would recommend for your consideration that you put the 50 in at this point in time, and then if they're allowed to do more later, they'll have to come back, visit with us, and it won't be nearly as complicated as this initial effort was.
Would you recommend, attorney, that we have a time frame of no sooner after 6 months, after 3 months? It might take a while before you see how it's going to develop or work out.
Well, I think the process has a kind of a timeline built into it. This application was filed how long ago originally?
A couple months ago.
I know it's gone through several versions. I would think the normal cycle would be at least 60 days from application till hearing to getting to the board. So we're going to have an automatic kind of a buffer built in once they make the request. So they'll have to anticipate, get their approvals, and then come in and talk it up. So.
And again, if it comes before the board, and if you think it's premature that there's not enough experience with the operation, there's nothing that mandates that you have to grant it at that time. So I think some prudence between the petitioner and the village in terms of knowing we need to see how it's operating, how well you're doing, hopefully very well, then that would be a time to reconsider if DCFS raises your license limit.
Okay.
You'll also see that in item E, in section 2, that we do have language basically mirroring what the petitioner specified in their application, that half of the children would be brought by shuttle to, so that is half the children would not have that pick-up, drop-off issue, which is going to be the concern about the traffic flow. And that they would provide a transportation plan so that we can see exactly what that's going to look like as we're going through the process here. In addition, just lost my thoughts here.
Sorry.
It's heck getting old.
No, I got interrupted, I'm sorry. But that transportation plan is important that it be filed with the...
Yes, staff will be following through on that. The access onto Michigan Avenue is not restricted to left or right turn. It's just whichever way the client needs to go from leaving the site, but it has been moved far enough east that there should not be any traffic stacking problems on Michigan there. So, any other questions?
Jeremiah, did you say something about the hours of operation, that we should look at that?
You can look at it. The Plan Commission worked with the petitioner, and they both agreed to the hours of operation of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay.
And that's business operating hours, the kids being there. Of course, the petitioner can be there anytime he wants to do office things and clean and all those good things. It's just the operating hours with kids there.
Okay. I have one more question. Did you mention also that the petitioners have prior experience with this type of operation?
Yes, and I will.
Why don't we have the petitioner
I was going to have them
summary,
actually
provide a brief summary of
Yeah.
what you've been doing.
We've been running home daycare out of our home for the last 16 years, and we currently we're maxed out at our house, so we've never been under capacity. Right now we have 16 kids, and that's continuous. So it's you never have a problem with parking because everybody's in and out.
Right.
We don't have any complaints from any neighbors.
Yeah. And your business model is interesting. Did you want to share that as well, as far as the nature of how you're shuttling the kids to and from, and the reasons why? I thought that was an interesting point.
Currently, we work with DCFS as far as getting on their list with a lot of teenage girls that have babies, and they have a problem with getting the kids and the baby, well, the kid and the mother to school.
Right.
So we provide free transportation for them, and any of our clients or customers that come to us, we also, we pick up, take it to school, then bring the baby back to daycare.
Gotcha.
And that works out better for us and them.
Yep.
Whereas a lot of kids may not get a chance to graduate, we'll by us assisting in that, it helps the parents who's also
Yep.
involved. So,
Keeps them in school. Yep, very cool.
May I? Oh,
Yes.
go ahead, Regina, did you?
All done.
Oh, okay. I just had a few questions. If I understood correctly, the parking along Sherwood Road is not in the petition at this time?
The parking along Sheridan, along their west property line, is included in the petition. That's 4 spaces there. What Jeremiah was
Did
discussing...
you say west?
The west edge of their property. So along Sheridan Road, there's parallel parking. You may not be looking at this, at the, which plan are you looking at?
See this one?
That's,
Got the parking along
yeah,
here?
that parking right there, those 4 spots are in play. That is in their application.
Okay.
And that also reflects the current conditions of the property. They are striped presently like that.
Okay. You mentioned one of the concerns I had was, again, just looking at the site, it's going to be a very tight development as far as parking, traffic flow. One question I did have was in terms of special events. I know a lot of daycare centers entertain parties, graduation, special events where parents might be there, might be in attendance.
well, since we haven't had any special events like that, we do a lot of field trips,
Okay.
but no graduation parties or anything like that.
Graduation or special events. Well, being a home business, you probably wouldn't encounter that.
Well, no, actually, we run just like a daycare center. We're a group, so the most home daycare centers can only keep 12, we keep 16. And we've never had, if there's a party, we celebrate the kids' birthday party, but it's just within the daycare kids.
Okay.
It's not for parents and then everybody else, and then, so we've never had any event where it's parents and everybody's there at one time.
Okay. Okay. In terms of traffic flow, I see it appears that we have one way in, one way
It
out.
is one way in from Sheridan and out onto Michigan. That was the Plan Commission's concern. Two-way traffic just would be too tight there.
Right. Do we have are there any plans to put up directional sign, vertical sign?
We will be on the ground.
Again, I did see that on here. I'm concerned about the wintertime. By you having access in the wintertime, that won't be visible when there's snow on the ground. Circulation is going to be a problem here. I'm just wondering, and maybe Jeremiah can touch upon that.
There is presently one sign on Michigan Boulevard for no entry. So if you approach Michigan Boulevard, there's a say no entry there. We can require another sign be placed somewhere towards Sheridan Road that says one-way entry of that nature, if that is a concern.
Either entry or exit, just so we can actually try to maintain an orderly traffic flow. Right now, I see a potential chaotic situation, and I would think that it would be in our interest to have some upright directional signage, which would actually get people in and out in the wintertime.
Yes, we can add that to part of the staff's approval section.
The staff will be reviewing signage in that as well, so, and the striping, et cetera. So I think it's a good idea to make sure it's clear that, do not enter is pretty clear, but the other side, if somebody's getting ready to go the wrong way to go out, that's going to cause a tie-up on Sheridan.
Especially with the 90-degree parking there.
Yeah.
The transportation plan, I'm just curious in terms of what that entails. And the reason being, I know we're indicating we're going to shuttle the vast majority of the kids there. With the tight parking and site accommodations for traffic flow, I just want to make sure that we have a mechanism in place to make sure we maintain that in the future, that we don't lose grasp of that aspect of it. If, in fact, business tapers off or some aspect of the business changes at some future point in time, we want to make sure we maintain that, again, for your benefit and for the village's benefit.
The way the ordinance is currently written, with the 50% restriction, basically what in essence that's saying is no more than 25 children will be dropped off at the site, because we're limiting that to 50% of the total approved number, which is 50. So with that the traffic flow would be those 25 kids, whatever that might entail. But the transportation plan, I think, is centering around how they intend to get these children there, maybe the times of the pickups and deliveries and that type of thing, so that staff gets a sense of how that's going to work through the day. And Jeremiah will be the one reviewing those
Okay.
plans.
We can have that required to be updated each year with a business certificate when it's
Okay.
issued, that they say what vehicles are operating, how many drivers they employ, what kids they're picking up in terms of locations and things of that nature. We can work with the petitioner.
What kind of a vehicle? Is it a van or a small shuttle bus?
They're vans, but Mr. Lee, I think can tell you exactly.
Oh, van, okay. So, and do you park that all the time on site?
Yes, it will be.
In the front, or do you have a special area allocated for that parking?
There's, it'll probably be right in the front.
Okay.
Other question, I was just wondering about the snow removal. Looking at snow removal from the site, I see that you have an area located by the stockade fence for...
Yes, that's what we'll do, though, negating with the snow in during the wintertime, as kids won't get outside.
Okay, is that a paved area, or is that
Yes, it's paved.
that's going to be paved? So you have a common, because you have pretty limited...
Right now, the whole thing is all paved.
Okay.
Unless you change what
Yeah, so I mean, when we push it in there, so we'll...
I just, I was just wondering, because I know we've got pretty limited provisions for snow removal on the site. So I just- Okay. And one other thing, I didn't see any indication of any landscape. And I know it's a pretty tight site in terms of landscape. I was just wanting to know possibly some accommodations, even if it's some potted something to maybe dress up the...
You know, there's already flowers or whatever out there on Sugar Road now, and then next everything else is concrete. Because the whole area will be fenced off. So from the back area, that's all fenced off, and there's...
Now, speaking of the front area, to enhance the...
Yeah, potted flowers, yeah, that wouldn't be a problem, but it's right now, there's no grass, no nothing, everything's concrete,
And that was my concern, where we can enhance the appearance of the building, maybe with a little landscape, even if it's potted.
yes, that wouldn't be a problem.
We brought that up at the Plan Commission level, the Plan Commission did, and the petitioner did say they would try to put some planters in the front of the building. It's not specifically written in the ordinance presently, we didn't quantify it at all, but that was something that staff can review.
Okay. Again, I think that answers the bulk of my question. Thank you, sir.
Any additional questions for the petitioner on either the variation or the conditional use? Any other questions for our staff? All right. Well, then, at this time, we have two ordinances to consider. Again, the conditional use would be the appropriate one to consider first, because there's no point in making variations if there's not a conditional use to be going on the property. So I would entertain a motion to approve an ordinance approving the petition of Antoinette and Terry Lee for a conditional use permit for a child care facility on property located at 38833 North Sheridan Road.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and 2 seconds. Any discussion? Ordinance number is
Oh, I'm sorry, 28.
28. Roll call, please.
Trustee Hucker?
Aye.
Trustee Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Otterson?
Aye.
Trustee Siddick?
Aye.
Trustee Wells?
Aye.
Trustee Gus?
Aye. Motion carries. Second would be ordinance 29, an ordinance approving the petition of Antoinette and Terry Lee for variations from the Beach Park zoning ordinance on property located at 38833 North Sheridan Road. Accept a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Otterson?
Aye.
Trustee Siddick?
Aye.
Trustee Wells?
Aye.
Trustee Gus?
Aye.
Trustee Hucker?
Motion carries. Congratulations. That concludes the Building, Zoning, and TIF report. Next, we have Public Works. Trustee Addison reporting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor / Trustee. The only item under Public Works tonight is to approve a contract for supplemental snow and ice removal for this upcoming season that we're all looking forward to, the winter. We went out for bid on this, received four bids. The low bidder is Amon's Asphalt. They were the company that we used, was it last year or the year before? The year before last. Gene met with them and is comfortable with their service and availability. So the recommendation is to approve the contract with Amon's Asphalt for this 2012/13 snow plowing season. I make that motion to approve it.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? There being none, roll call, please.
Trustee Otterson.
Aye.
Trustee Siddick.
Aye.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Trustee Goss.
Aye.
Trustee Hucker.
Aye.
And Trustee Miller.
Aye.
And I believe that concludes the Public Works report.
Thank you. Public Relations and Economic Development, Trustee Miller.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just one item I wanted to share with the board. As you know, we had our first, which may become an annual event, a low-cost pet vaccination clinic that we did in conjunction with the Lake County Health Department. And I was not able to attend myself, but Trustee Siddick was there and representing the village, and she was very excited. She texted me and said that the people were lined up around as far as the eye could see. I did get some stats from Renee Wright, who was my contact with the health department. She said the count from the clinic was 210 dogs, 38 cats, a total of 248 animals. And she said this was the largest fall clinic this year, the fourth largest clinic ever, and she was really pleased with the turnout. She was very satisfied with the location. It was held at our Public Works facility. Linda, you want to tell a little bit more about it from an on-site perspective?
Yes, I will. Thank you. What I didn't realize was the huge outcome that we ended up having at that particular event. Not only were there quite a few beach park people there, but we also had some people come from surrounding communities, Waukegan and things like that, and Wadsworth. Many requests that if we could certainly turn this into an annual event, just because the vaccinations that they do host is their one-year vaccinations. So the people who are looking to do this again in the spring, when their pets are up for renewal, that way they would have an opportunity to go ahead and bring theirs as well. But I do want to thank Public Works for opening up the building and setting things up the way that they did. I thought it was real unique and very appropriate that our superintendent, Gene Gross, decided to go ahead and set out a fire hydrant. And staff was...
What was that for? Do we have to throw that one away now? Linda, do we need to throw that one away now? Has that been...
It was never used.
Oh, okay.
But I do want to thank the Public Works staff for all their help in setting things up very nicely. So they were huge and instrumental in helping us make it such a huge success.
Yeah, we weren't sure what to expect, quite frankly, because we had not done one of these low-cost clinics before for vaccinations, but apparently it was something that was well-needed based on the turnout. You know, you don't have over 250 people plus turning out with their pets if there isn't a good reason for it. So,
Correct.
you know, we're quite interested in doing another one again next year.
And one thing I found that was very unique is how well-behaved all these animals were.
Right, you told me that.
We had them packed in very tight, a foot apart, 2 feet apart. There was no problems with people's dogs, cats, anything.
What about the owners?
No. The owners were not behaved. So they certainly, I want to thank the public for attending that for sure, so.
It's also my understanding, better than a third of the people that attended were actually Beach Park residents, and better than half were actually from our corner of the county.
Right.
But we did drive, as I understand it, from as far away as Wakanda.
I didn't hear that. That's quite interesting. That's
I did hear
great.
that last night.
Well, it just goes to show you that, you know,
It
it's big
was the last
interest in
one
this.
of the year, so
Yeah.
people were trying to get their
It was really quite simple for us, because the health department came in and did everything. All we had to do was provide the site, and they did all the work, so. Cool.
And it
The
didn't
site and
cost, it didn't cost a dime to host
Yeah.
something like
And
this.
I know
so-
Richard's thinking maybe next time incorporate it with a craft show, maybe some food vendors and type things like.
Green
It'll be a festival.
Anyway, that's all I have tonight.
Thank you. Good report. Intergovernmental Affairs, Trustee Wells.
Thank you, Your Honor. No report tonight.
All right. Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Your
Trustee
Honor. Just
Gus.
got one item. Saturday, we got our special needs corn maze event over on Crow's Farm on 13236 Town Line Road. And it starts at 11 o'clock, and afterwards, we're going to have pizza at the village for the kids.
Nice.
That ends my report.
All right. And Public Safety Committee, Trustee Siddick.
Thank you, Your Honor. I do have one item I'd like to mention, and it was another community event that had taken place at the Beach Park Middle School last night, which was another huge success. Trustee Wells was very instrumental in putting together a unified neighborhood watch program just to help revitalize some of these neighborhood watch organizations that are out there that may have gone stagnant or something. So I think Trustee Wells had a little bit of information on that, so
Well, thank you, Chairman of the Public Safety Committee, Siddick. First of all, I'd just like to thank all of our dedicated staff members that made this event happen. Trustee Wells was a very small part of it. We had incredible staff that actually made it happen. So I want to thank all of our staff, in particular Mr. Ken, Ms. Donna, Ms. Tracy, and Ms. Lori, who are our point people for that. They did an excellent job, and I'm truly appreciative of the hard work and the effort you put into it to make it a huge success. We had about 116 people in attendance. It was the village's first Unified Neighborhood Watch meeting. We do anticipate or would like to possibly sponsor 2 a year, and as Trustee Siddick had indicated, it serves a few purposes. One, to galvanize the current 9 neighborhood watch groups that we have actively participating. We also have a number of groups that have been started years ago. People have either moved out of the area or transitioned somewhere else, or they've just been dormant. Many of the residents aren't sure whether they have active neighborhood watches or not, so some have expressed an interest in revitalizing those watch areas, so we want to encourage them. Also, individuals who had questions. Again, we were looking to achieve a number of different initiatives and objectives, and I think we did a great job. I also want to thank the mayor and all the trustees, because they've been very supportive and instrumental in supporting the Neighborhood Watch program, and they also have a very true concern for the health, safety, and well-being of all of our citizens. That was one of the purposes of the meeting, was to reaffirm our commitment as a board and as a village to the health, safety, and well-being of our citizens. Again, we had a great turnout. I want to thank everyone. We do have a follow-up meeting for those who are interested in starting a Neighborhood Watch program. We have a tentative date set up for November 14th. Because of time constraints last night, we weren't able to formulate any new or reactivate some of the older Neighborhood Watch programs, so we do have a meeting scheduled for the 14th, which we intend to actually activate a number of those. There were a number of groups that approached us last night that do want to activate Neighborhood Watch programs or reactivate, so we will be accommodating those on the 14th. And again, thank you for all your efforts, and thank you for great success.
I'd be remiss if I didn't also add to your appreciation last night. First of all, Larry, your idea was well-received and putting that program together last night, and it was a great idea, so thank you. In addition, much appreciation to the Sheriff's Department. Sheriff Kern couldn't make it last night. He had intended on being there, but we had 2 deputy chiefs and 2 public service officers that were there, and they did an incredible presentation, patient, answered questions, and all in all, it was an evening well spent, so it was very, very good.
Mr. Mayor, also, one person I forgot, and that was the Sheriff's Department, who was a very instrumental part. We want to thank them for being a dedicated servant and partners in crime. So thank you very much.
Very good.
And
Anything
that-
else?
No, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Sure. All right. Item 5, Village Treasurer's Report.
We have the presentation of the annual financial statements and the audit tonight, and we have Mr. Ron Amon from our auditing firm to give the report.
Good evening. I'm Ron Amon, a partner with Lauterbach and Amon. Tonight, at the conclusion of the audit, I'd like to walk through two different documents with you that we produced at the end of the audit. The first one is the management letter. In the current year management letter that we issued to the Village of Beach Park, we have 2 current comments and then 3 comments that we are following up from prior years. The first comment in the current year is related to some account reconciliations related to the water and sewer accounts. When we go through our audit process, we try to make sure that any subsidiary ledgers that are maintained by the village and how they're reconciled on a monthly basis back to what we call our trial balances. When we did this audit, we noted that they weren't being reconciled on a monthly basis. In the management letter, you can see the response that staff has already reconciled these and is going to continue to do so on a monthly basis going forward. So it's already been addressed and corrected going forward. The second comment is related to a billing register that we also look for in our audit process. This, to me, is kind of a computer glitch of how your computer system internally works. Once again, staff has this under control starting in November of this year. They're going to be able to produce that report and now know that it can be printed right when you lock down the month. So that one also is addressed, and going forward, it'll just be some better internal controls related to those 2 items. In the prior year, we talked about GASB 54. GASBs are the Governmental Accounting Standards Boards, as us accountants have to deal with. Number 54 was required to be implemented in your April 30th 12 audit. So in the audit of your current year, it doesn't change how we address any of our accounting, but it does address a few of the terminologies that we use in terms of your fund balance and the classifications that we use. So it's not going to change any balances, but it is going to change some of the terms. So that was implemented in the current year. The second comment from the prior was once again related to some past due accounts in the water and sewer. We're repeating this comment again. Staff continues to work on this. What I can tell you is many of our audits struggle in this area. Procedures, controls, some of the ordinances are out there, when you can do shut-offs, how you try to maintain the validity and the collectability and all items related to water, sewer. So staff will continue to work on this, and we'll come back next year and probably say the same thing, that they're continuing to work forward to try to get their hands around this the best they can. And then the last comment has been in our management letter for a number of years now related to capital assets. We've recommended that the village go through a assessment of all your capital assets and inventory per se. It does cost money. We feel that your assets are materially reconciled through the audit process, but a good control would be to have an expert, an outside entity come in and do an inventory of your capital assets. So I know that can be talked about again either through budget season as you go through budgeting and the auditing process. So, any questions on any of the items noted in the management letter?
I have a question. Are any of these recommendations more critical than any of the others?
One thing in our accounting world, we have these buzzwords that we use like material weaknesses and reportable conditions. Any of these items in here are not anything that is some of those more alarming type of comments I could give you. All of them, and we've always had great cooperation with staff, all of these are things that once we put them in the management letter, we'll report back to you next year. The 2 in the current year have already been addressed by staff, and so next year I'm going to stand before you and say they've been addressed and taken care of and they're not going to be repeated. So as long as staff continually works towards those, the only one that has been in the management letter is the capital asset one. And I can't sit here and tell you have to do it. It would be a good exercise, but once again, it costs money. And so what's the cost benefit for trying to do it? So none of them are more important than the others as long as staff continually addresses them annually as we go through the audit process.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. I thought tonight, the second document I'd go through is actually what we do when we get done with the audit, and it's the big bound one. It's called a Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. I thought tonight what I would do is just go through and kind of guide you through how this is set up and kind of give you some terminologies in what we do. This CAFR is divided into 3 sections. The first section is right behind the table of contents, and it's what we call our introductory section. So this is section number 1 of 3. There's a divider page that says introductory section, and you can see on there it says in there are 4 different items in that introductory section. One is your principal officials. We're required to have an organizational chart. We're required to have a transmittal letter. And then the last in that introductory section is what we call your certificate of achievement. This is the second year in a row at April of 11 where Beach Park submitted to this program that your audit goes through 3 levels of review. It's a very prestigious award. It does mean something. So at April of 11 was the second year that the village received it. Once this is approved at the board level, we will also submit April of 12 to the program to go through a review process. And that's the last page in the introductory section. Right behind the introductory section is the next divider page, and it says financial section. So once you get behind things that are Roman numeraled, we get into what we call our financial section. And on that divider page, you can see 5 different things that are included in there. This is what we audit. This is why you are required by state statute to have an independent auditor. So the first thing in that financial section is an independent auditor's report. Once again, our opinion is clean or unqualified. The second section of the financial is the management discussion and analysis. Anytime I get to tell the board, the page numbers are MD&A, and then it goes 1 going forward. It's your Cliff Notes version. This tries to condense this audit, let management discuss, put it into graphs and charts. So the MD&A is a great place to look. Right behind there is your basic financial statements, which also includes your footnotes. The 4th section is what we call our required supplemental information. It gives some more detail about your IMRF and your pension, and it gives some more detail about your fund level. And then the last piece of the financial section is what we call combining an individual fund statements. It's a lot of financial information that gives budget to actual, and it goes all the way to page 79. Right behind page 79 is the last section of the audit, and this is what we call our statistical section. If you're part of that Certificate of Achievement program, you're required to have this statistical section. On that divider page right behind page 79, it lists out here the 5 different areas that are required to be in there. We're required to have financial trend information. We're required to have revenue capacity information. We're required to have debt capacity information, demographics and economic information, and the last thing is what we call just operating information. So starting there on page 80 gives 10 years or up to 10 years of a lot of trend and financial information in that stat section, which is obviously something very important to look at and just see where you were at 10 years ago as maybe opposed to today. So any questions about the CAFR or maybe the audit process that we go through to get here?
I read the whole thing, and I stayed awake, so.
I prefer the Cliff Notes section.
You don't believe me.
Exactly. I just wanted to comment that the way that this was formatted was very easy to follow and understand, so I know that that made it a lot easier for me to read and understand it that way, so I appreciate that.
Thanks. Sometimes what accountants get caught up in is the numbers and all the stuff we do to relate it to increases and decreases and what is a balance sheet and an income statement. One thing I'm trying to do this year when I go before a lot of different boards and do this is just try to walk through the exercise of what's in here.
Yeah.
There's an introductory section of financial and then that stat section, and just try to give you an overview of how it's kind of laid out and what some of it means. So to try and give everybody more, but anybody that does read it, I appreciate it. So.
Very nice.
Good job.
Good job. Thank you.
Good job, sir.
Thank you.
So I was disappointed that that family with the kids got up and left, because this is the kind of stuff they really should.
So, I guess in closing, I want to make sure I thank Peggy. It's a huge team effort. It takes both people from our firm and staff, and Peggy's the point person that goes through a lot of this, so we appreciate all the cooperation we get from her to be able to get this done and pulled together. Hundreds of hours go into this, so we appreciate it.
Very good.
It's nice of you to acknowledge
job,
her.
Peggy.
Yeah. We appreciate you, too.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Peggy. Good. Good. All right. Anything else from the treasurer's report?
We have the financial report, treasurer's financial report for the year 2012, and it's a listing of the revenues and the expenses that were incurred for the village during the year. And that will be published in a newspaper tomorrow.
No. Very good. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, next we have the village engineer's report.
Thank you, Your Honor. The first item is the pay request for Keno and Sons. This is their first pay request, and this is for the installation of the inline booster pumping station module on Sheridan Road. And we have a recommendation letter in the board packet. We've reviewed the pay request based on the level of work that's complete, and we've reviewed the supporting documentation, and we recommend that the board approve payment to Keno and Sons Construction Company in the amount of $9,243.
I would make that motion to approve payment of...
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Siddick.
Aye.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Trustee Gus.
Aye.
Trustee Hucker.
Aye.
Trustee Miller.
Aye.
And Trustee Addison.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The second item is also related to that project. It is consideration of change order 1 from Keno and Sons. And I did report on this at the October Public Works Committee meeting, but if you remember all the many months that went through in the discussions with ComEd for the easement, and on the third Julie locate on the site, once for design, once for geotech, and then finally for construction, they identified a large electrical cable running right through our easement. So the good news is that ComEd has been very cooperative on revising our easement location, but we didn't know the exact location of that cable. So we have a proposed change order here for doing the potholing to locate that. And we reviewed that, and actually we negotiated them down on the price, and we recommend that the village board authorize change order number 1 in the amount of $2,600.
I will make that motion for change order number 1.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? I find that those lines tend to move on their own without notice, so it's good that you had a...
Yeah, it's frustrating that, like she said, it was located twice, and this was never shown. And then the third time for construction, they showed something that they hadn't before, and the contractor said, we can't dig where you're telling us to dig. There's a big cable in this, so we had to swap the easements. But we're lucky that ComEd cooperated with that, and that Marcia talked them down on the price a little bit for the...
Very good. Roll call, please.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Trustee Gus.
Aye.
Trustee Hucker.
Aye.
Trustee Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Addison.
Aye.
And Trustee Siddick.
Aye.
Thank you. The next item is for the 2012 MFT street project. It is also for a change order proposal. Basically, when we set up the MFT program this year, we took the amount of dollars and that we had and tried to get as far as we could with patching. Because of a delay in the North Avenue project and some other projects, we worked with village staff and are satisfied that the funding is available to do some additional patching, which really needs to be done out there in those same areas. So we've identified an additional 800 square yards of street patching, and we and staff recommend the acceptance of change order number 1 in the amount of $14,240.
I will make that motion again for the change order.
A motion and a second to approve change order 1 for paving or patching. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Gus.
Aye.
Trustee Hucker.
Aye.
Trustee Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Otteson.
Aye.
Trustee Siddick.
Aye.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Okay, next in the packet, item 6D, is the resolution for the board's consideration for applying for the Lake County 2013 Community Development Block Grant Program for Public Infrastructure. We've talked about this at committee level also, and in the CDBG eligible areas, what we submitted the letter of intent and intend to submit the application for next week for the CDBG funds is for some additional roadway work improvements. And we're just asked that the village board adopt the resolution.
Okay, we have resolution number 14 in your packet.
I move to adopt the resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Resolution speaks for itself. Roll call, please.
Trustee Hucker.
Aye.
Trustee Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Otteson.
Aye.
Trustee Siddick. Trustee
Aye.
Wells. Trustee Gus.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And then my last item is to consider bids that were received for the exterior cleaning of the village's 2 elevated water storage tanks. This is a maintenance item. It was budgeted for, I believe it was budgeted for in the amount of $15,000. We did receive 4 bids on October 22nd, and the low bid was LC United Painting Company in the amount of $13,900. We and the village have worked with them before and are happy with the service they provide. We recommend that the village award the contract to LC United Painting Company in the amount of $13,900.
I will make her motion on that one as well.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the exterior cleaning of the 2 elevated water storage tanks. Any discussion?
I was glad to see that they bid. They're the ones that painted the North Avenue Tower a few years ago, and Gene was really happy with their attentiveness to all of the...
So if the paint peels off, then it'd be warranty?
They know how to fix it.
Okay. Yeah, we do have a noticeable spread in the bids, ranging from almost $54,000 on the high side down to $14,000. So it's quite a interesting spread there.
I like that number, considering that the work is comparable.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Roll call, please.
Trustee Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Otteson.
Aye.
Trustee Siddick.
Aye.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Trustee Gus.
Aye.
And Trustee Hucker.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you. That ends my report.
Thank you, Marcia. Village Coordinators Report.
Thank you. I just have one item. We received word from Black & Buck Architects that the bid opening date for the Village Hall generator is going to be on Wednesday, November 7th. The ad will be published in the paper next week for that.
Thank you.
That's the end of my report. Thank you.
All right. Village Attorney's Report.
No report, Mayor.
All right. Village Clerk's Report.
I have no report.
All right. We're changing our agenda order just a bit tonight, but now would be the time for any citizen that would wish to address the board to rise, come to the podium, state your name, your address, and your case. Don't all jump at once. Looks like... Okay. Next item on the agenda is an executive session for the selection of a person to fill public offices defined in the Open Meetings Act, including a vacancy in public office when the public body is given power to appoint under law 5 ILCS 120/2C3. I would accept a motion to adjourn to executive session.
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Otteson. Aye. Trustee Siddick.
Aye.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Trustee Gus.
Aye.
Trustee Hucker.
Aye.
And Trustee Miller.
Aye.
We are adjourned to executive session. Next door.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. The only reason we were held up was.
This is station at your house? Okay, I'm with you. The staff will be reaching out to you to help you complete the application, and then the board will sample the process the application, and the board will consider the application and
I promise.
It is cold in here.
I noticed them walk like that. Big difference, huh? No, it's warmer that room we came.
Keep the people awake while you were gone.
Okay, we will reconvene from executive session. With the clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Gus?
Aye.
Trustee Hucker?
Here.
Trustee Miller?
Here.
Trustee Addison?
Here.
Trustee Fittick?
Here.
And Trustee Wells?
Here.
Mayor Hucker? Let's move over to attorney.
Here again. Okay, under the mayor's report, my first order of business is I will be tendering my resignation as trustee on this board. It's been a good, long run. However, I find that the responsibilities of being both that trustee and the acting mayor to be a bit taxing, as well as I have some plans for a little additional work for the board, and I think another soldier in the cause here is warranted. So I will tender that to the clerk. Kind of strange resigning to myself, but
Effective when, Mayor?
effective immediately. Thank you.
Do we have to vote on that additional work thing, or? Oh, okay.
Sorry. My next item would be to make an appointment of Don Jensen to fill the vacancy just created by me in my resignation for the office of trustee. I would ask for the board to confirm that appointment, or confirm or deny that appointment, and we would need a motion to consider that confirmation.
I will make a motion to consider the confirmation of Don Jensen.
The word consider, you make a motion to approve the mayor's appointment?
I will make a motion to approve the mayor's appointment of Don Jensen to the office of trustee.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? There being none, roll call, please.
Trustee Wells?
Aye.
Trustee Gus?
Aye.
Trustee Hucker?
Aye. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Please take your off unless I just resigned.
He's not a trustee anymore.
You just resigned.
I can't vote ever again unless it's a tie or some other reasons.
Okay, Trustee Otterson?
Aye.
And Trustee Civic?
Skip trustee Miller.
Yeah.
You skip trustee Miller.
Oh, I am sorry, Trustee Miller. Trustee Miller?
Aye.
I haven't flushed off here. And Trustee Civic?
She's thinking.
Aye.
Thank you. The ayes have it. Don has been confirmed as our new trustee, and without a lot of fanfare, we actually have the clerk prepared to swear you in.
But I notice he doesn't have a microphone at his seat.
Well,
No.
he's on probation for a bit, so we're not going to let him talk right away.
Can't give him everything when he first starts out.
Hey, at least he got a
And I see there's a camera present in the room. Well, please come forward, and if you would join the clerk around the back here.
Thank you for not making a motion to give him my so that I can't talk.
I, Donald Johnson, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of trustee of the Village of Beach Park according to the best of my ability.
Sit down for the adjournment.
I thought he was going to do that in German. Didn't we?
Jawohl.
And once again, thank you to my fellow board members for confirming Don. I know that he'll do a good job for us. At this point, it is time for any other business. No other business, then we would accept a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. I guess we need a roll call to adjourn, don't we? Do we?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. The ayes have it, we are adjourned.